can exploit. Throughout the early period, let me go back up here, there is this pressing fear of communism. So this big fear that communist revolution is imminent. Well, why would the people be afraid of that? Well, they'd be afraid of that because of the Great Depression. Because who does the Great Depression benefit tremendously? Well, it's going to benefit the left wing. So the left wing is going to become more and more popular with workers. And so during these early governments, there's this fear, this paranoia that communist revolution and agitation from the Soviet Union is just going to break out into full-scale, like a Bolshevik-style revolution. And of course, Hitler is seen as the sort of the antithesis or the opposite of a left-wing candidate. Well, you have an arson where literally the Reichstag building is set on fire by a Dutch communist, and Hindenburg is going to declare a state of emergency. This is going to sort of cause a crisis within the state. This is going to be a lovely excuse to begin a crackdown on left-wing trade unions and the Communist Party. And this becomes the vehicle by which Hitler can begin to capture the state. And so one of the really most important moments in the rise of Hitler is the Reichstag fire. Because of the Reichstag fire, shortly after, in March, Hitler's going to pass the Enabling Act. And the Enabling Act is going to grant the Chancellor, that's Hitler, extraordinary amounts of emergency power. And of course, what is this going to be couched in? This is going to be couched in, well, he's here to guarantee the safety of the state. And so, who's the state worried about? Well, the state's worried about, at least at this point, the left. Because, oh my God, a Dutch communist set the Reichstag on fire. There's all these agitations with trade unions and parties. We have to protect ourselves from the left. So the Enabling Act passes, and this gives Hitler an extraordinary amount of emergency powers. And then between March and June, we see the slow domination of the Nazis in almost all elements of the German state. So what do I mean by that? Well, the Nazis slowly work their way into state governments, into local governments, all other parties, and this is actually going to be in June of 1934. All other parties are going to be banned. The Nazi Party is going to be declared the only legal party by July of 1933. And the Nazi state is going to sort of quickly become the sole monopoly of power. Now, we're not quite there yet. So the Enabling Act guaranteed an extraordinary amount of power to the Nazis, particularly Hitler. And then between really 33 and 34, we see the Nazis infiltrating all aspects of the German state. However, in June of 1933, and you'll notice this, so this is not really to scale, June of 1934, we see the Night of Long Knives. Now this is a very ominous sounding incident. So the Night of Long Knives is literally a weekend in late June of 1934. What the Night of Long Knives was is a purge organized by Hitler against members of the Nazi Party. So this is an internal purge. Hitler is actually going to go after several leading Nazis who he felt was collaborating against him. The first of which is going to be a guy named Ernest Röhm. And the thing about Ernest Röhm is him and Hitler are actually friends. Oops, that's not really... Let me see if I can get... Ernest Röhm and Hitler are actually friends. And so Ernest Röhm is the head of the SA, the stormtroopers. But he represents sort of this threat to Hitler's monopoly on power. Ernest Röhm. So Röhm is the head of the SA, He was friends with Hitler. He was a member of the Nazi Party, but he's going to have a major falling out with Hitler. During the Night of Long Knives, essentially, more right-wing Nazis purge people they feel are a threat to Hitler, particularly Ernest Röhm and the SA. During the Night of Long Knives, and literally this is a weekend in late June 1934, Röhm is killed, and the SA are purged. Now, the SA is going to continue to exist well into the Third Reich, but they're never going to have the kinds of power that they used to. The SA are actually going to be replaced by the SS. So the SA is going to be replaced by the SS in their role. And of course, the SS were those elite bodyguards, and who are the SS loyal to? The SS are loyal directly to Adolf Hitler. So Night of Long Knives is a purge. Then in August 1934, Hindenburg unexpectedly dies. And so Hindenburg is actually in his 80s by then. And with the death of Hindenburg, we see a vacancy at the presidency, but this vacancy is quickly captured by Hitler. He declares himself not only Chancellor, but President. As Chancellor and President by August 1934, Hitler is, again, Führer, of course, means leader. So he declares himself Führer. Of the German state, and the army is going to swear loyalty directly to Adolf Hitler. And so by August 1934, we see a single-party state with Hitler at the head. Now, if we do some kind of analysis, and let's do analysis in a fun analysis color. Well, the first thing that we notice about the rise of Hitler, and I'll squeeze the analysis in here, and this is kind of like, I guess, a crimson or a brown, is that the rise of Hitler is legal. So Hitler was appointed Chancellor by the then, by the then legitimate president. That this is a slow, systematic rise. So it spans about 4 years. And it's popular. So Hitler and the Nazis, while they don't have a total sort of overwhelming control of the state, they, early in 1932, they capture a large majority of the Reichstag. And so it's a legal, slow, systematic, popular rise to power. So what has to happen next? Well, Hitler has to then consolidate his power over the totality of the German state. But we have now a single-party state leader in Germany who is right-wing, who rose to power.